Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Spare a Thought, the podcast that shines a light on the people, ideas, issues, and organisations that are often overlooked or misrepresented in the media. I'm your host, Tom Spare. 1 year ago, pretty much to the day, I launched this podcast, part of the Be the Change media network. And this is the 33rd episode I've put out so far. Would you believe it? Closing in on nearly 2,000 downloads too. So I want to wish the show a happy first birthday. A big thank you to everyone who has listened, particularly those who have been there from the beginning. I started getting into the podcast game while I was still doing my master's in political communication at Cardiff University. And I started the Political Dispatch with my friends Sid Kurapati and Lily Mott, who is also the founding director of the network. And we started that show in June 2024. And a couple of months into doing that, I had a conversation with Lily and I just said, look, I really want to try sort of doing some episodes solo and trying something a bit different alongside the Political Dispatch. And I came up with the concept of Spare a Thought. And the first interview was with my really good friend, Bowen Rowlands, who is the director of the Iris Prize, which is a LGBTQ plus film festival, which is actually is happening again this month. And yeah, it just started from that conversation. And really the first few episodes were people that I knew well, who I thought would be interesting to interview on the show. And it's sort of grown from there, really. And now we're on season 4. And I've sort of planned out quite a few more episodes yet. So we're going to be close to 50 episodes by the end of the year, which is just really exciting. The whole podcast experience has been a real education, and it's great to sort of learn about the process and everything that goes in behind it. And I wouldn't be here really without the amazing guests that I've had on the show, and obviously all the listeners, but particularly Lily from the start. And my friends Lucy and Emily, who have pitched in with ideas and feedback to improve the show as I've gone along. A big thank you to everyone who's listened, downloaded, commented, liked and rated the show. But a special mention has to go to the founding director of the network, Lily Mott, for all your support and encouragement. Your energy, your determination and compassion are the driving forces behind the network. That now includes 15 shows and 32 young people supporting the programming. Also, it's worth saying that Lily's been nominated, or shortlisted, should I say, for Cardiff University's 30-ish awards in journalism and media category. We're really rooting for you, Lily, and we hope to bring that award back for the network and shout about that. But even being shortlisted is an incredible honour for you and really well deserved. So after all that lovely stuff, on with the show to episode 5 of season 4, part of our Educating for the Future series. Just as a little recap, in episode 1, we looked at getting kids into STEM. In episode 2, we explored filmmakers of the future. In the third episode, episode 3, we looked at universities and climate justice. And in the last episode, we looked at what a matricentric future might look like. Today, I want to focus on Black authors of the future as a way of honouring Black History Month, which starts on the 1st of October. This won't be the only episode in the next month or so that we'll be putting out there to celebrate Black History Month, so keep an eye out on your feeds. The theme for this year's Black History Month is standing firm in power and pride. And one of the ways we can honour that is by thinking about books and particularly Black authors. My guest today is Clarice Rodney, the operations manager of the Black British Book Festival in London. In this episode, Clarice tells us about her career path, how she got to where she is now, the story of the festival, its beginnings, the advice for emerging writers, and what's in store for the festival taking place on the 19th of October. As well as hearing from Clarice, I'll be sharing a few other clips from other episodes and a show that I went to recently. One of the clips I'll be sharing is from another show on the network, Shadow and Light with Kiari Page, and you'll hear a clip as well from a previous episode of this show, A Matricentric Future with Sinead Ali. Also, I'm going to add a new feature, a review of the week, which I hope to keep up as episodes go on. This week, I'll be reviewing Olivia Dean's second album, The Art of Loving, which came out last week. I was lucky enough to see Olivia live on the 18th of September in Bristol, and I'll be sharing through this episode some recordings from that gig as well, of Dean sort of reflecting on her experiences of making the album. So it's a packed schedule for today, and it's about time we get into it and spare a thought for Black authors of the future. So Clarice, before we talk about the Black British Book Festival, I want to learn a little bit more about you. As children and young adults, we are always asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? At school, what did you want to be? What did you want to do for your career? And has that matched up to what you do today?
See, growing up like many kids, I had a mix of dreams. So at different times, I wanted to be an accountant, a sports therapist, or a physiotherapist, given that is what I actually studied at uni. Interests that reflect curiosity and desire to make a tangible impact. But over time, my path shifted, and today I am actually project and event management guru with a strong foundation in administrative expertise. While my career actually looks very different from those early dreams, it still allows me to create, organise and bring people together, combining my love for storytelling, culture and community. Through projects like the Black British Book Festival, I can celebrate voices like mine while making a meaningful impact. So in many ways, the essence of my childhood aspirations has remained. It's just evolved into something bigger and more dynamic.
What's the story of the Black British Book Festival? How did it start? How's it going? And what's in store for this year's festival?
The Black British Book Festival started out of a recognition that Black writers, poets, creators often weren't getting the platforms or visibility they deserved in the UK literature scene. It began as a small but passionate initiative to celebrate Black voices in literature, create community spaces for readers and writers, and challenge the underrepresentation we often see in mainstream publishing. Over the years, it's grown into a vibrant multi-day festival featuring talks, panels, workshops and performances, showcasing established voices alongside emerging talent. This year, though, we're expanding even further through a programme that blends literature with conversation, culture and activism. Attendees can expect a dynamic mix of events that celebrate storytelling in all its forms, from fiction and poetry to memoir and essays. So it's going to be a really fun time that we're really trying to get out there with such high class authors, celebrities, all of that good stuff. That we really just want our community just to feel the love in the space, but then also in the space around publishing, and just bring that book festival vibe and just really take it to another level.
James Baldwin once said in an interview, "You think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, but then you read." What role does reading play in understanding our world?
Reading, I would say, is a bridge. It connects us to experiences, histories and perspectives beyond our own. Baldwin's quote captures something deeply human. Literature allows us to see that our struggles are not isolated. They are part of a larger tapestry of human experience. Reading teaches empathy, challenges assumptions, and broadens our understanding of the world. For communities that have been historically marginalised, reading can also be a form of resistance, a way to assert presence, identity and knowledge. It's through books that we can honour our past and navigate our present, but also imagine our future.
We live in challenging times. The political world and the media landscape is awash with reactionary, often divisive points of view, which is largely drowning out the advances that we've seen in regards to race representation. What role does the festival play in this very noisy and messy environment?
I would say the festival really creates a space for clarity, dialogue and celebration in the midst of all that noise. In a media landscape that can often feel very hostile or dismissive, the Black British Book Festival is about amplifying voices that matter, highlighting stories that might otherwise be overlooked, and also just fostering thoughtful conversation. It's not just about literature, it's about culture, identity, and again, that visibility. We want people to leave the festival inspired, informed, and reminded of the richness and diversity of Black British storytelling. It's a place where truth and creativity meet to challenge the dominant narratives and open up space for genuine understanding.
So that's sort of the first part of Clarice's responses there. I just want to have a little break. We have loads of shows on the Be The Change Media Network, and I wanted to play a clip from Chiari Page's Shadow and Light, a historical podcast experience where we embark on a poetic journey through time travelling to reclaim forgotten narratives. In the latest episode called The Street That Spoke, we are taken back to East London in 1936, where ordinary people stood together at the Battle of Cable Street to stop the March of Hate. Here's the clip.
Cable Street, the barricade witness. For the people of East London, 1936. They said the East End was theirs to march through, as if the homes of Jewish families were a stage for their spectacle of hate. But the people filled the alleys. They overturned carts, dragged furniture into the road. Women hurled flour and refused from windows. Dockers locked arms with immigrants. "They shall not pass" was not just a chant. It was a covenant. And when the police lines cracked, when Mosley turned his men away, the street itself declared, "Not here, not today, not ever." The barricades fell, but the memory remains. A witness pressed into stone, and still the boots march elsewhere. Today's echo, the border witnesses. For those targeted by today's far-right rhetoric. The language has changed, but the hunger is the same. It speaks of invasions on dinghies, of borders that must harden, of neighbors turning into strangers. Nigel Farage was his Reform UK chorus, a symphony of fear rising in parliaments and plazas. From London to Rome, from Washington to Delhi, each speech builds a barricade of its own, not of wood and iron, but of suspicion, of walls that divide heart from heart, and yet the witness of Cable Street whispers, when hate marches, the street can speak. Ordinary voices can thunder louder than polished lies.
And you can find that wherever you found this podcast. It's available on all streaming sites. Would really check it out. And I will say that Chiari asked us to feature on the latest episode of the show. The clip at the start is actually from the most recent episode of the Political Dispatch, which we'll share in the show notes. So back to Black authors of the future. Clarice, do you have any advice for aspiring writers out there on how they can get published, how they can get others to see and enjoy their work? And does that advice change for aspiring Black writers and other folks from marginalised groups?
I would say my advice for all aspiring writers is first and foremost, read widely and write persistently. Develop your voice, refine your craft, and don't be afraid of rejection. It's just a part of that journey. Build networks, attend festivals, connect with peers and seek out mentors. For Black writers and writers from marginalised communities, I would add seek out spaces that really celebrate and understand your perspective. Your story matters and it deserves to be told authentically. Don't dilute your voice to fit mainstream expectations, but find those platforms and communities that will amplify it. So I would say persistence, confidence and visibility are key.
Could you tell us where and when the Black British Book Festival is taking place this year? And where can listeners find out more about the festival?
So this year's Black British Book Festival returns to London's Barbican Centre on Sunday, the 9th of October 2025 for its 5th year. It's shaping up to be our biggest and most exciting festival yet, with 84 authors and around 35 events, Packed into a single day, the festival brings together some of Britain's most loved cultural figures, including Sir Lemmy Henry, June Sapong, OBE, Denise Lewis, DBE, J.B. Gill, Marcus Ryder, MBE, and musician and activist Jordan Stevens, and so much more. The day designed for everyone, from headline sessions like The Shape of Us with June Sapong and Denise Lewis on legacy and identity, to the big payback with Sir Lemmy Henry and Marcus Ryder, and reparations and family-friendly events like J.B. Gill's Farmyard Magic Storytime. There's something for every age and interest, including masterclasses, workshops, a children's zone, and the Black Book Marketplace, showcasing new and established voices from across the UK. Tickets are intentionally accessible, with a full festival pass priced at just £15. They are on sale from the Barbican Centre website. This isn't just about one day in October, it's about celebrating Black British voices, fostering connection, and helping to change the face of British literature for generations to come. You can find out more and see the full programme, book tickets for the festival website and social media channels. We really encourage everyone to come, engage, and celebrate the richest of Black British literature with us.
A big thank you to Clarice for giving us a really comprehensive overview of the Black British Book Festival. As they said, the festival is taking place on the 19th of October at the Barbican Centre in London. Tickets are available to purchase via a link in the show notes and just a search online as well. Last week, I released a conversation on Spare a Thought with my good friend Sinead Ali, the founder of Womb, a matrocentric yoga studio and community space in Cardiff. Together, we talked about how we can create a matrocentric future. Here's a clip from that episode with Sinead talking about why she became interested in yoga, in particular, Womb yoga.
When I was teaching at that retreat in Thailand, I had horrendous period pain, and I've been back and forth to the doctors here and in Thailand. I paid a lot of money to see private doctors because I was like, there is something really wrong with me. I was on the pill at the time about having really horrible kind of flare-ups, and they were quite certain that it could be endometriosis, but not really able to tell me for sure without doing surgery. And I was like, there has to be another way. One of the reasons I became a yoga teacher was because my symptoms would just, whether it was mood, would be so unpredictable, or physical pain, to the point where I'd have this pain down the back of my legs and I'd feel like a piece of wood. I went from being very, agile person and very energetic person, and then the next day it can be a completely different story. So I needed a job that was flexible and adaptable, and so that it was why I was able to why I went down that path of teaching yoga and why it became my main thing. And a horrendous pain in that yoga retreat. I remember meeting women going through a similar thing as well, and just having a really horrible time and not having any answers. So I think it was always in the back of my mind of we're not serving women and people with periods adequately, and yoga could really be a tool for that. So I think even the arches that I have here, in the doorways, details like that was always kind of in my mind, not just because it looks nice aesthetically, but I wanted a space that felt just very nurturing. And there's a charity in London, I can't remember what it's called, but the focus is on working with refugees and survivors of war crimes, people who've been experienced torture, and they're building all the corners around it and all the archways around it, and even the front desk, and it's basically trauma-informed design. So it's all about creating spaces that literally feel very comfortable and open and safe for people. So even back then, I was had that in mind of how do we create these spaces for people who've probably going through a lot psychologically or physically.
A big thank you to Sinead for being such an excellent guest. And finally, before we wrap up today, I thought it was time to bring in a brand new feature, as it's a year into Spare a Thought, and that's the review of the week. This week, I'm talking about Olivia Dean's The Art of Loving, which came out last Friday. This is one of the most anticipated albums of the year from one of the UK's brightest stars. I was lucky enough to catch her an intimate gig recently where she talked about the pressure of the follow-up album. I've recorded some clips from that show, So let's take a listen.
Like putting a second album out, there's like a sense of peace, like knowing you've done the first one, like you kind of proved yourself a bit, or
No.
the opposite?
No, I think the second one's really scary because it's like, was the first one a fluke? You know, did you get away with something? And can you do it again? So I think approaching making a second album is really scary, but I actually had so much fun making this one, and I was so less worried about the product and more worried about enjoying the process. And so if you think it's shit, that's fine, but you can't say I didn't have fun.
That shift, focusing on the process over the product, is key to the entire record. She explained that the title is inspired by Bell Hooks' book All About Love, which taught her that love isn't a fantasy that happens to you, but a practice. Here's Olivia explaining the concept behind the art of loving.
Wanted to ask about the art of loving, the whole concept of it. Can you talk a little bit about why you decided to call it the art of loving, and kind of, what the kind of basis of the album is all about?
So actually, similarly to Messy, the album was inspired by an exhibition that I went to in LA, and the exhibition was called All About Love by an artist called Michaelaine Thomas, and her exhibition was in response to Bell Hooks' book All About Love, which I devoured. I loved that book, and it really changed my perception of love as a concept, and it not being this like fantasy thing that you hope's just going to happen to you one day and you've got nothing to do with it, and actually is something that you can manifest and practice in your life, like an instrument or any hobby, you know, like it's something you can get really good at. So
because we're not taught, and some of us need a little helping out.
That's right, we're not taught. Like, imagine if there was like a love module in school, or like in primary school. Like, I feel like that would be good stuff to know, because we're just sort of hoping for the best. So this album was me kind of like reflecting on my understanding of love, and especially in the last 2 years of my life. And I think I've covered a lot of the basis. I'm sure there's more to say, and I'm very aware that everybody sings about love. It's not this crazy topic I've invented, but I think it's the most important thing in the world. I'm sorry if that's cringy to you, but we need more love in our lives.
It does kind of make the world go round, so.
Right?
That philosophy turns the 34-minute record into a syllabus for connection. If her debut album was about early adulthood, this is the sophisticated guide written once the dust has settled. It opens with her singing Something Lost and Something Gained in the Art of Loving, and then flows seamlessly into its most honest moments. We get the giddy, bossa nova infused joy on tracks like Easy to Fall in Love. But the emotional core with Close Up, a track about the sheer frustration of being given mixed signals. He questions her own perception with the memorable line, chasing rabbits don't usually end with happy ever after. There's also the two big singles from this album, which are Nice to Each Other and Man I Need, which being big hits in the charts over the summer, and I think a really good indication of where Olivia Dean's going sonically. Catchy tunes, so pop music, but then also classic at the same time. Really great stuff. The album also gives the cinematic drama of Loud, which sounds every bit like a Bond theme tune, and I hope the people that are making the new Bond film really think about Olivia, because she'd be an absolutely amazing addition as singing Bond theme. And the final lesson on the closing track, I've Seen It, is that love isn't just found in those big romantic gestures, but it's everywhere, including inside yourself. She sings, the more you look, the more you find it's all around you all the time. Catches your eye, you blink, and then it's gone. Brings out the worst, brings out the best. I know it's somewhere in my chest. I guess it's been inside me all along. The Art of Loving is a beautifully balanced and intimate record, and a masterful step forward that confirms Olivia Dean is one of Britain's most essential voices of the now, and I think she'll go down as one of the best. It's well worth sparing a thought for her this week and for her album. The album is available to stream and buy wherever you get your music from. So that brings this Spare a Thought episode to a close. Happy first anniversary to the show. A big thank you to Clarice Rodney and all of her colleagues at the Black British Book Festival, which takes place on the 19th of October at the Barbican Centre in London. You heard clips from Shadow and Light with Kiari Page, and episode 4, season 4, a match-centric futurist Sinead Ali from this podcast, Spare a Thought. And you heard clips from interviews with Olivia Dean from a gig which took place on the 18th of September at Bristol's Trinity Centre, which I recorded. If you want to get more content from me, you can find exclusive insights, behind-the-scenes stories and extended reflections by subscribing to my Substack, which is linked in the show notes. The title track for this show is Young Shall Grow, credit and thanks to Afro Cluster, Magugu and Asha Jane. Spare a Thought is a Be the Change Media Network production. Thanks for listening.
Young shall grow, better fill them with love. Then them go know, in this life you don't give up. Even when you know, if you fall, get back up. Young shall grow, whether you like them or not. Young shall grow.